In today's video, we're going to talk about the Flash movie. Where did it go wrong? I enjoyed the movie, but it made a lot of mistakes during production and a lot of mistakes during marketing. Also, Aquaman 2, that's how the English people say it, so that's the correct way. Test screened again, which went poorly. And also, James Gunn is talking about what is different from the MCU and the DCU, and he's almost revealed his plan for the future of the DCU. The new DCU that wasn't created in the Flash, or was it? I don't know. It could have been, maybe. We don't know. So, yo, what is freaking good, YouTube? What's you here? If you're new around, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, Kaiju, Monsterverse-based content that we try to do on a daily basis. If you could subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on and let me know. Is DC dead? Does the general audience not care? Well, at the moment, this movie is tracking for a same opening weekend to beat Black Adam by a smidgen. $72 million, which is really bad seeing as Tom Cruise said this movie was amazing. And also, if you could check us out on Instagram and watch you to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice, and check us out on Twitter. OSTG. Right, let's go into this. So, Cinema Score gave this movie a B. Black Adam got a B+. So all the hyperbolic reactions saying it was the greatest movie ever. I'm not saying these Warner Brothers partners was somehow dishonest, but the numbers are not adding up. The greatest comic book movie ever, and then a B. So we know the Rotten Tomatoes score, we know the Metacritic score, we know the audience score. It's not the be and end all. They've already got the quotes out there on the little trailers and all that stuff. It's kind of cute. The box office is the bottom line, because realistically, not many movies have made much money when it comes to DC. Everyone likes to slag off the Snyderverse, but you look at theatrical cut for the studio version of the Suicide Squad movie, and even that made a lot more money than Shazam 2 and Black Adam and Birds of Prey, etc. The only two movies that have actually made decent money in recent years. We're not going to talk about Aquaman because that was such a long time ago now. The Batman made pretty decent money. Joaquin Phoenix, Joker 2, opened pretty low, but it still made a lot of money because it was a very good story. We need to stop pretending and saying, oh, the Snyderverse was the problem. No, because the Snyderverse movies actually outperform. Yeah, I know BVS coulda, woulda, shoulda made $1 billion, but at the moment, it's not looking like the Flash is going anywhere. There's so many places you could point the finger. It's because of Ezra Miller. It's because he was throwing chairs in Hawaii. It's because he was caught stealing stuff. Realistically, Ezra Miller is a nobody in the sense that most people don't know who he is. He's not a household name. All this craziness that he was allegedly doing, even though there was video evidence with the copper and, you know, when he was running around that field and throwing chairs, it was highly documented, but realistically, it didn't really make mainstream media outside of some places in America. The general populace have no idea who he is, outside of being in Fantastic Beasts. He's a nobody. Nobody knew who he is. So blaming Ezra Miller, if this movie fails, I don't think that's the case, because Warner Brothers have controlled him pretty well to the point where he articulated himself pretty well at the premiere. He introduced the movie. He took some questions on the red carpet. He hasn't done anything wrong publicly that's been reported. He hasn't been accused of doing anything in over a year. So if the movie fails, it's not just down to Ezra Miller. There's a huge team behind this movie. Super Bowl advert, NBA advert that allegedly cost $16 million. The failure of this movie is down to so many factors. This movie started in the Walter Hamadaverse and somehow came out at the Snyderverse, and then somehow apparently sets up the DCU. Well, I don't really need to give the spoiler warning, but if we're going to go down that road, spoiler warning, does this mean George Clooney is the new Batman? No, then what the hell was the point of it? And then you've got people like Andy Muschietti, the director. I don't think it's his fault, but realistically, this movie was finished in 2021. They had 2 years to work on the CGI, and to come out and say, Andy Muschietti says some of the perceived weird VFX in The Flash was intended. The idea, of course, is we are in the perception of The Flash. Everything is distorted in terms of the light and textures. Cool story, bro. Okay, when he's running, yeah, that stuff would be distorted. Kind of, or would it? But when you see some of the girls, the Sasha Calle Supergirl, it's not her fault, and she looks like a Xbox One video game graphics, and we're in the 20th century. It's damage control to a hyphen level. It really is. Tom Cruise loved it. Everybody loved it in the pre-screeners, the reaction CinemaCon. Yeah, this is going to make $1 billion easily. And it's looking like it's only going to make $70 million domestically. Sure, money is the most important thing because they've got to make their money back. Because Warner Bros. Discovery are in $47 billion worth of debt. They really are. And then announcing Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti are going to produce and direct The Batman Brave and Bold. I really think that was a bad move because you've not proven yourself in the superhero genre. I get it. He didn't work on the script, but the studio did interfere massively. There apparently is a 4-hour cut of this movie. Okay, cool story, bro. Just like the Snyder Cut. I know they're not going to release a 4-hour movie, but although I was pretty nice on my review, there is issues with this movie. Generally, the pacing, the third act, you kind of go from nothing to a fight, and it doesn't even look like a real fight. And it's like, so Sasakaya's Supergirl basically kills like 20 people. Henry Cavill's Superman does it in Man of Steel, kills Zod, and like, he's the worst thing ever. Cool story. And it didn't even feel like the same Zod and the same Fiora. There was a lot of issues with this movie, a lot of plot holes. Obviously, they didn't really use the Reverse Flash at all because I was chatting to one of the homies, GeekyCast, about the whole Reverse Flash, is he, isn't he? And when you think about it, the whole can, moving the can from the bottom shelf to the top shelf. So when Nora Allen didn't forget the can, or she did in the ending scene, because we see Henry Allen's face, what, the Ebar Thorne, the Reverse Flash didn't appear then because a can got moved? Nah, I don't think the Reverse Flash was ever supposed to be in this movie. And that was a massive L. I really think that was a massive L. Because the origin story of the Flash is so highly linked to Ebar Thorne. We get it. We've seen it in the comic books. We've seen Ebar Thorne return with Tom Cavanagh and Matt Lanchester, I believe it is, in the CW show. Multiple times. The Reverse Flash would have elevated this massively. The villain wasn't Zod. The villain was Dark Flash, who was kind of like some Savitar one. I mean, realistically, I'll be transparent. I think the Savitar storyline was much better in the Flash TV show, but obviously they had a whole season to thrash it out. Realistically, everybody's seen it coming. As soon as Barry got pushed out of the Speed Force and ended up at 18-year-old Barry Allen from Earth 2, we knew where this was going. It was so predictable. There is a lot of problem with this movie. The score was really bad. I get it, they were worried they didn't want the same score of Man of Steel, but this movie kind of was Man of Steel. And realistically, this movie coulda, woulda, shoulda been a lot better if they actually got Zack Snyder to be an EP and work with it. Because it was like Andy Muschietti was trying to recreate Zack Snyder's vision without Zack Snyder's input at all. I mean, they didn't have to bring Zack in fully, but they could have had him consult for the movie and it would have been a lot better. And they could have still tagged in the original ending scene, potentially setting up a crisis event years down the road, because the way this movie ends, it's like, it confuses everyone because like, well, what are they setting up? Because James Gunn keeps saying that the new DCU's first movie is Superman Legacy. So anything that happens in this movie and Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 doesn't mean anything. But Blue Beetle is the first character of the DCU. Cool story, bro. But that doesn't mean you're going to keep the same actor around. And then they have a test screening for Aquaman 2, also in the news. And apparently it's a train wreck again. Apparently it's a train wreck. There's reports going around. It's a horrible story. It's unwatchable to the point where even the director of the movie doesn't like it. So the test reactions coming courtesy of respected leaker viewer Anon. I'll be honest, we're half a dozen a test screening and it's not looking great. I've consistently heard over the last year and a half, it's so boring, not good. Potentially one of the worst DCU movies ever. This unsettled sentiment was echoed by Big Screen Leaks, who does get stuff wrong quite a bit, but let's just go ahead. Stating the reason I've been avoiding any questions about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom test screening for this film, I've not heard good things about it. That's a bit dishonest. I heard that something almost never happened in test screening happened with this movie. They're really going to need to fix it and fix it fast. So yeah, apparently, can we get some toast tweeted people walked out? And can we get some toast? It's the most transparent and the most honest scoop there is. And he doesn't miss. He said exactly what the ending and the post-credit ahead of time before anyone else. For the Flash movie, he was right. He's got so much stuff right that I don't even need to check with anyone else. If he tweets or says something, it's pretty much gospel. And then My Time to Shine, hello, he, she, I've got no idea who runs this account, Comes across as a DC hater. I heard Aquaman 2 is horrible. Only DC movie I'm currently excited for is Blue Beetle. And then it looks like Jason Momoa is ironically doing some reshoots after the test screening was apparently horrible. That's very interesting. Viewamon tweeted, I believe they're further dialing Black Manta's back as the main villain and play it as Bacon as the Serenel, like King of Nexus. Almost certain, but I don't know what it is, or they haven't decided yet. I heard he really didn't test well. Audience thought he was boring. That was into response saying number one complaint for the first movie was actually Black Manta, and making him the overall villain wasn't really a good move. Do you think we'll go back to the original version of the movie since the cut got praised? I heard nobody was happy with the original version, especially your boy James Wan. This has nothing to do with the DCU. Don't think it's connected at all. There are no cameos or no major references that I am aware of, which is interesting. So there was supposed to be a Ben Affleck scene, cut. Supposed to be a War Stew scene, cut. Supposed to be a Michael Keaton scene, cut. So it's basically a movie that will probably lose money because of reasons. So that's not looking good because there's Blue Beetle come out in August, which Blue Beetle's a cool character, but I don't think anybody cares. I think they've lost the audience. The general population don't even care. Most people I know in real life didn't even know the Flash movie was coming out, even though they've been so hyperbolic with marketing. Maybe if they didn't take Henry Cavill, sure, Henry Cavill appears in the Flash movie, but not properly. He's in there, but not in there. Maybe that would have helped a tinty bit if they threw the Henry Cavill scene in. I don't know. So James Gunn's got a huge task ahead of him, but he's explained recently how the DCU will differ from the MCU. This will be interesting. So he was on a podcast recently with Lex Luthor, Michael, from the Inside Podcast. If you look at the MCU, there are very traditional superheroes in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Director explains, there was never a guy with a secret identity until Spider-Man. There, Captain America was turned into a soldier, even though he wears a mask. Iron Man outed himself at the end of Iron Man because they didn't want to deal with the secret identity stuff. There is a bit more fancy element in the DC universe, true, because there are larger-than-life superheroes Gunn added. For me, there's Superman and Clark Kent. They are different characters, yeah, just like Bruce Wayne and Batman are different, and you have to find a way to deal with them. That as grounded as possible within the world of DC. It's got to be grounded either way because you've got to set a universe up. You've got to build a universe from the ground up. Don't fret too much about the filmmaking use word of grounded because he'd go on to explain that it's fantastical. History of DC Universe is one of the biggest draws for him. It is Gotham City and Metropolis and Star City and Bloodhaven, and all of these are different places in this reality, and it makes it a little bit like Westeros in some ways. I love it that way. I love that we get to create true world building in DC. It isn't just we're throwing some superheroes on Earth. I think right now that's the key difference is, well, Superman got thrown on Earth, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. I mean, he's kind of right, but kind of wrong. It's interesting. That's his plan. That's his 10-year plan. Whilst Gunn is apparently in the process of casting Superman Legacy cast, he also has an entire slate of projects to oversee, meaning he's going to spread himself too thin, and he hasn't got the experience like your boy Kevin Feige has. Building the shell universe, it won't be an easy process, so fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed, because DC's on a huge decline at the moment, and I cover a hell of a lot of DC content on this channel. So I don't want to be hypercritical or come across negative like I have done recently, but with DC, you have to criticize them so they know how to do better. It's interesting, a lot of people said, yo, Warstu, you're going to come out and say you hate the Flash movie. But if you watch my video, I didn't hate it at all. I said it was a decent movie. It wasn't perfect. It was good. And I would watch it again, just like I said in my review. So even if I am hypercritical, and it just proves my point that the hyperbolic, hyper marketing where they got everyone and their dog to say it was a great movie, we don't know. This movie could still bang. We don't know. But generally, if the weekend one doesn't go well, if the first week doesn't go well, it's not looking good overall for The Flash. And it's not looking good overall for the future of the DC universe. I've got no idea how they can promote Blue Beetle to make people care. In order for these movies to do well, people have to care. And I think the general audience has literally switched off. It's not looking good for Aquaman 2, but everything I'm hearing from Blue Beetle, it's a pretty solid movie. But can they get that through to you in trailers? At the moment, it looks a fun fun movie, and do people want fun DC movies? No, they want true in-depth stories where there's actual real consequences that can happen in their movies. Is there superhero fatigue? No, I just think there's bad story fatigue. But in the DC universe and DCEU, people are just bored of it. They really are. And people are bored of Marvel as well at the moment, really, if you look at numbers. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 made over 800 million, but that looks like it's just a one-off movie. So like always, guys, let us know down below. Did you like The Flash? Did you not like The Flash? What are you hearing about Aquaman 2? Have you heard anything? What is your hope for the future of the DC? What do you want James Gunn to do? Who are you going to cast for the new Batman and the new Superman? So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at WashU to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Check us out on Twitter at WashUG, and I will catch you in another video very soon. Catch ya later.